Jai Saparika Shri Shri Guru Gaur Chandraju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhanju Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Pai Paramhansa Paribrajakacha Jastatar Sita Shri Sriman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Vishnu Pai Paramhansa Paribrajakacha Jastatar Sita Shri Sriman Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Darde Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Welcome to Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mission Morning Class. Dandavat. Jai. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanyadevam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. All important, every aspect of everything in devotional life is great significance in a synergistic whole. Today, of course, everyone knows it's the Gundicha Marjan festival, where Mahaprabhu cleans the Gundicha temple, and we get to take part in that. We get to take part in that pastime by cleaning the temples dedicated and devoted to the Lord. So, but I'd like to begin with reading this lovely article that was published on the Gaudiya Darshan, and this was the commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur about the significance of the cleansing of the temple. And there is a secret behind it that Srila Saraswati Thakur is revealing to us. And this was something which was published in the Gaudiya Darshan on the 9th of July, 2013. But the original article, I'm not sure when that was published. So, Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains the secret behind the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. Gundicha Marjan Lila Rahasya. The secret behind the pastime of the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, and this is from Srila Saraswati Thakur's commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, of course the 12th chapter of Madhya Lila. Through this pastime, Jagadguru Sriman Mahaprabhu is teaching that if a fortunate soul desires to sit Krishna on the altar of their heart, then they should first of all clean their heart of all contamination. Making the heart spotlessly clean, peaceful, and resplendent with devotion is mandatory. Krishna is not going to sit in a dirty place. And we're reminded of the analogy that was given, that an elephant jumps in the water and cleanses himself, and then when he comes out of the water, he will roll in the dirt, roll in the dust, and cover himself with dust. So we have to, not jump into complete mundane activities after doing our service in the temple. We must also try to maintain that cleanliness gradually, that service mood. Otherwise, we're very much hampering our own progress. So he's saying that this Gundicha Marjan festival, this is signifying all of these points that we have to understand that the real cleansing has to be internal. So he's saying they must first of all clean their heart of all contamination, making the heart spotlessly clean, peaceful, and resplendent with devotion is mandatory. If any thorny bushes, weeds, dust, or sand, which are the anarthas, remain within the field of the heart, then the Lord, the ultimate recipient of all service, cannot be seated there. Contamination and litter within the heart means anya vilas, extraneous desires, karma, worldly action, and gyan, speculative knowledge, yoga, and so forth. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu has said, Anyavilasita shunyam, jnana karma dhanavritam, anukulyena krishnanushilanam, bhaktir uttama. That's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Wherever the Lord's eternal natural propensity wherever the soul's eternal natural propensity for devotion has been covered over by desires unrelated to devotion, speculative knowledge, worldly action, yoga, asceticism, or any mentality that is unfavorable to devotion, pure devotion cannot be present there. It's like wherever there's darkness, there's no light. Where there's light, there's no darkness. Those two things cannot exist together. So all these things all these things within us, and layers and layers and layers and layers of those things, grows subtle, more subtle. Those all have to be thoroughly cleansed, or the Lord cannot sit with those things. That is not possible. And this is accomplished through surrender. Through surrender always. This sort of base desire, like a thorny branch, lacerates the pure soul's tender propensity for exclusive devotion, kevala bhakti. Worldly action means, quote, through piety, sacrifice, charity, and austerity, I shall enjoy the pleasures of this world and the higher planes like Svarga. Such selfish action is like dust. In the whirlwind of the cycle of karma, heaps of this dust, that is desires, cover the spotless and clear mirror of our hearts. So much. Our Guru Maharaj says, as we have gone through these different births, millions and millions of them, we've been collecting so much moss. And now we're sitting in a mossy tank. Tank means like a little pond. And you know when that green stuff all grows in there, that's called moss. So now we're sitting in a mossy tank of all of these tendencies. So all of this has to be cleared out.
In a mossy hot tub, really comfortable.
We're enjoying so much. So such selfish action is like dust. In the whirlwind of the cycle of karma, heaps of this dust, that is desires, cover the spotless and clear mirror of our hearts. Prabhu, can I ask a favor?
Yes.
Can you get me something
Yes.
Thank you. Desires to perform both good and bad actions, like countless heaps of dust, have contaminated the hearts of souls who are averse to the Lord for numerous births, and thus the desire for worldly activity has not left these souls' hearts. And we can see all these things in ourselves. But through surrender, excuse me, I just have to. Through surrender, the Lord can shine a light on these different things that we're not even aware of, or we're not taking seriously if we are aware of them. But he can show, oh no, this thing, this is actually very painful for you. It is causing you untold misery in this life and in the next life. And it will not leave you. It's not that after we suffer the results of our activities, that we are no longer inclined to those activities. The root will remain. Otherwise, simply by, experiencing our karma, then we will be freed from the desire to ever do those things again. But that is not the case. Sorry. So this dust is there. So we feel like, oh, well, it seems hopeless. But no, it's not hopeless at all. The Lord can remove these things. But we must surrender. We have our part to play. Desires to perform both good and bad actions. That means good actions with the desire for a result in this world. Pious activity. When we are trying to lead a clean life, and that is favorable for devotion, but it is for devotion that we are trying to do this. Otherwise, also, we can see that when sometimes a person will come to begin to, or we may be even able to see this in ourselves at times, that we, by the process of devotional life, we become very much elevated, and that can be utilized for material life. That's a weed that can grow up. Now these tendencies which made my life very difficult, now those are leaving me and I'm much better at enjoying myself in this world. That's a weed. So we also have to remove all those kinds of things. And try to mold our life towards our progress in a very honest, heart way. So all of those dusts have contaminated the hearts of souls who are averse to the Lord for numerous births, and thus the desire for worldly activity has not left these souls' hearts. Souls that are averse to the Lord think, quote, "It seems that through action, the thorns present within action can be removed." But this is a misconception. Do you follow? So it seems like by following the materialistic activities given in the scriptures, I'm going to be able to remove the thorns of material life. But that's still material life. So that cannot actually happen. It cannot actually remove the misery, the constant misery of material enjoyment. It cannot. Oh, so I didn't realize this was going to come up, but as an elephant smears his body with dirt again after you bathe it, so desire for worldly action is not dispelled by performing worldly action, even though it is scriptural worldly action. Only through pure devotion are all of the soul's difficulties dispelled permanently. It is then that the altar of the soul's pure heart becomes a suitable place for the Lord to rest. This is why a devotee poet has sung, Bhaktera Hridaya Sada Govindrera Vishram. The heart of the devotee is always the resting place for Govinda. Monistic yoga and endeavors for speculative knowledge are just like sand. So the first is like dust. But this monistic yoga, meaning trying to come to the monistic, non-differentiated plane, and endeavors for speculative knowledge are like sand. Through them, what to speak of the Lord's service or satisfaction, an endeavor is made to lacerate the Lord's body with a spear, just to deny that he even exists. He is part of the mundane conception. This is the worst. So this is like sand, very more gross. Although at the beginning of the search for non-differentiated Brahma, seekers of liberation may accept the Lord's name, form, and so on to a certain extent. Such seekers does not accept the independent existence of the Lord's name, form, and so on at the time of their liberation or identification with Brahma. So that he's eliminated, utilizing this for a certain purpose and then finish. And throw the deity in the kund. They do that in Kali Puja. The Kali is brought around, all these things. When at the end of the puja, they just toss the deity in the lake.
Really?
This reminds me of those who are practicing yoga for monistic. Just erase the blackboard, just get it all gone, turn off the light, flat line, finito. And they sometimes worship Krishna, but with the end of throwing him in the lake when they're done. They don't know. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti. No. Koti svashesha vasudari vibhuti bindam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhuta. So yasya prabha means his effulgence. That's what it means. It's the effulgence of the Lord, that Brahman that they're trying to merge into, that is his. It belongs to him. The Lord therefore does not appear within the heart of such unfortunate souls who proudly consider themselves to be liberated, when in fact they are not. It is for this reason that Sri Gaur Sundar did not keep straw, dust, sand, and other forms of litter even within the boundary of the Lord's temple compound, but rather threw them outside using his own cloth, lest with the help of a storm all such rubbish would again enter the temple. So when Mahaprabhu cleansed the Gundicha temple, every piece of dust, tiny little pieces of straw, everything was thrown out of the temple compound. Otherwise it could come back in again. So thoroughly getting everything out. And this is Srila Saraswati Thakur's, this is what is necessary. It's not optional. Every wrong, foolish, nonsense thing in our heart will have to go. All of it. And thoroughly go. Not that some bad thing or some association or something will bring it back. It will be permanent. This is such a beautiful article. I do want to read this pastime, but I'm going to just keep reading until 8:30 and then we can read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So tomorrow is Ratha Yatra. And before the Rath Yatra festival, in the Rath Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath travels to the Gundicha temple. The Gundicha temple is Vrindavan. Coming from Dwarka to Vrindavan. And before that, Mahaprabhu goes to the Gundicha temple and thoroughly cleans it. Often even when worldly actions, speculative knowledge, and so on have been dispelled, subtle forms of contamination remain within the heart. These can be compared to kutinati, pratishdasha, jivahimsa, nishidachar, labha puja, and so on. Kutinati means duplicity. Pratishdasha means the desire for worldly honor. May the ignorant call me a great soul on account of my solitary worship and imposture. Sarcastic. Pratishdasha means desire to be recognized as a devotee or an avatar by showing a perverted reflection of divine emotions, such as artificial symptoms of ecstasy within one's hard heart, in order to fulfill one's selfish desires for worldly enjoyment. Jivahimsa means hesitation to or miserliness about preaching pure devotion, indulging Mayavadis, materialists and enjoyers, and speaking so as to keep the attention of such persons. So in other words, when we're preaching, or when we are sharing what has come from our Sri Guru Dev into our heart, we are not compromising to attract so many materialistic people and Mayavadis and keep their attention. We are preaching pure devotion. And if somebody doesn't like that, there's loads of other places to go. We're not interested in having a big crowd of people who don't know anything. And cheating them and cheating ourselves. And anytime anyone wants to introduce political, social, ridiculous stupidity of the Kali Yuga as a part of the temple, we have no interest in that. We're not interested at all. The temple itself is for preaching pure devotion without compromise as far as we are able to. And there, whatever we want to do outside of that, we can do somewhere else. Anyone, I mean, nobody, when we come here, it's for here. Any question about that? It's very important, right? To keep the temple very clean, not discuss low things here or all that. Labha and puja means living off the Lord's names, mantras, deities, or the Bhagavat in the name of religion, cheating the ignorant and accumulating wealth, honor, and so on. Nisidaracha, because we saw in a holy place, obviously not really in the holy place, but on the surface. So many temples, there's a big competition. Who's got the highest temple? We've got a 16-story, like, it's all to get people coming in. And for what? Like, for what? Why would you even bother to go to a temple like that? And so using the deities, the temple, the scriptures, and everything for some benefit, that's a big problem. Nishidachar means associating with the opposite sex and non-devotees of Krishna, such as materialists, speculators, and enjoyers. We will be affected by that very much. Shri Gaurasundar first swept out large heaps of such sand, straw, and dust, and so on, that had accumulated over many days, and then after cleaning every area within the temple, a second time with brooms and water, began scrubbing the temple and the Lord's altar with the dry cloth he was wearing, so that no subtle blemishes would remain anywhere. After all of the sweeping, cleaning, scrubbing, and so on, there was no trace of any dust particles or even subtle blemishes within the temple, which was not only spotlessly clean, but also soothingly cool. That is, the practitioner's heart had become free from the bearing pain, from the burning. I think it's supposed to be burning pain. To become free from the burning pain comparable to being in a desert scorched by the sun, free from the flames of the fire of the three miseries produced by desire, to enjoy the mundane adhyatmika tap, miseries caused by the body and mind, adibhotik tap, miseries caused by others, and adidevik tap, miseries caused by the gods. In fact, when desires for enjoyment and liberation, all extraneous desires, worldly desires, speculative knowledge, yoga, and so on, are dispelled from the practitioner's heart, and the soul's propensity for pure devotion manifests, such peace and soothing coolness appear naturally. So we're so much in love with selfish misery, but it is all misery. There's not a drop of happiness in it, but we have addiction for that, and it is very inauspicious. And at least we do not want to share those things. I mean, we want to be good association for ourselves and for our friends. Any comments or questions about this? Yes, sir.
I don't usually ask questions because, my questions aren't usually that good. But I do have a question because what you said, good association for ourselves. Can you say more about that? Because obviously, we understand, well, at least for me, I can clearly see when someone's, a good associate versus when someone's clearly gonna lead me and, we're gonna skip off to hell together. So anyways, what is it? Can you explain good association with yourself?
Well, you're kind of sort of explaining it a little bit, because you can see, so you're seeing that should influence you to act in a better way.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So we have to be like Srila Guru Maharaj said, first save yourself. Save yourself. Put your mask on and then put the mask on your child. Because we need to have some strength. And when I keep doing the same thing, which is damaging myself, I'm not being a friend to myself. But in bad association, harmful self-behavior, behavior which is harmful to myself, is praised as if it's some sort of virtue, as if it's a really good thing. This is the danger of bad association. It's like it's all praised like it's a good thing, when in fact it is a really bad thing for our progress. So we don't want to be like the elephant who hears something nice and does something nice and then jumps straight into the mud again. We have to exercise some self-discipline for the sake of the Lord. We really do. And if we're around those who want to stand up for behavior which is actually really, really harmful to ourselves, then that is going to be harmful to us. And like you're saying, joining together to drag each other to hell. I mean, where's the friendship in that? It requires a little discipline. Just like if a person goes to a doctor and they have diabetes from indulgent in too much wrong kind of food, then the doctor's going to say, you got to stop eating that. And they're like, what's wrong with that? I mean, what's wrong with eating that? There's nothing wrong with that. But there is. And that disease will continue. But he doesn't want to give that up. We had a friend here who was diagnosed with diabetes, and he simply didn't believe it. And he died. But he didn't believe it. He would not believe that because he could not give up his lifestyle, which was leading him to suffer a lot. So, it's going to take a little discipline. And we do not want to associate with persons who are giving some foolish idea that what I'm doing to harm myself is actually a good thing. It isn't. It's not a good thing. So that's the essence of bad association. Encouraging us with so many different kinds of ideas that what I'm doing is practically a virtue. Something to be celebrated.
Thank you, that was super helpful.
Your questions are always good. What are you talking about?
You always answer them without me even asking them. So I don't usually need to ask. But that was confusing and I feel so much better.
Oh, well, that's really lovely. So now we'll just read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, this article here is very nice. It's not so long. There's only a little bit left of it. Actually, what else should I do?
You could read it.
Keep reading the article, right?
Alright.
Read what?
Yeah, keep
The
reading
article. It's not very much longer, but it is a
It's
very
really
important
nice.
thing because we want to understand the depth of things. It's very, very easy for us to, as we were discussing last night, see things in a superficial way and not come to the heart of the matter. This is our tendency. And our great, great, great guardians are always trying to bring us into the deeper understanding. Oh my goodness. I heard something this morning which was so astonishing. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading this and I'll talk about that tomorrow. But it was so... And the thing is, this is in a talk that I've heard at least 50 times. And I never heard Guru Maharaj saying this. I just didn't hear it. Because when we're listening to something, we don't hear all of it. We can't because we're contemplating what we've just heard and we're missing the next thing. This is natural. So we keep hearing over and over again, like what we always say at every Wednesday night in Gita class. Oh my God, it's just like I never even saw that verse before. How long have we been reading Gita? Half a century. And yet every time there's something in there that we didn't notice, not only because we're not hearing it, because we're thinking about something else, but also we weren't ready to recognize that thing exactly. So Srila Saraswati Thakur is continuing that this speculative knowledge, yoga for mystic accomplishments, what is the use of that? Just to get some groovy experience, to go back to the 60s, some experience, I mean, it's really hard to attain them, but then people will adore you because you're lighter than the light. And Jesus, Christ walked on water, got a lot of attention, so he was able to give his message. But that is a mystic perfection. It's one of the eightfold mystic perfections. Ignorant souls who do not understand that often, when all selfish desires have been dispelled, a subtle blemish still remains within an unknown nook or corner of the heart. The desire for liberation. What to speak of the impersonalist desires for Sayuja Mukti, the liberation of merging into Brahman. Sriman Mahaprabhu scrubbed away with his own cloth even the subtle blemishes of desire for the 4 other forms of liberation. You know there's 5 kinds of liberation. So what we think of as liberation, I mean when Krishna kills the demons, he liberates them from all material contamination. But they don't get devotion, because you must want devotion. Generally they're, with a few exceptions, go back into the Brahma position. But there are also 4 positive kinds of liberation, which are in Vaikuntha. They're not full of contamination at all. But compared to what Mahaprabhu is giving, they are rejected by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas as being lower, and they are lower. So, Salokya, residing in the Lord's abode, they want to live in Vaikuntha with Lord Narayan. Not they, but this is, we're saying that can be a goal. Samipya, being in the Lord's presence. Sarupya, having a form like the Lord. And Sharsti, having opulence like the Lord. Those are available in Vaikuntha. But the Lord is wonderful in Vaikuntha. Lord Narayan is wonderful, but this is a lower stage of devotion. In the positive, that means it's not impure, but it is lower. It is a lower relationship with the Lord. In Vrindavan, nobody's thinking about anything that they're achieving. Nobody thinks of achievement in any way. They're only serving. They don't have any thought of, I'm going to be in this situation, that situation. But we're saying this with all respect to the residents of Vaikuntha. They have no material contamination, but their spiritual relationship is not as developed. And so those are in Vaikuntha. And beyond that is Ayodhya, the relationship with Lord Ramachandra. And beyond that, Dwarka. And beyond that, Mathura, Vrindavan. And then there's so many levels in Vrindavan. And we can understand these things.
So Vrindavan would be Mathura Rasa.
Madhura.
Mathura,
Mhm.
yes, in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
In Mathura, which is where the Lord went to
Kill Kamsa.
kill Kamsa,
Yeah.
what rasa do we find there?
In Mathura? Mathura is, you can read, that's a big subject, but that you will find in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. How the feelings of Mathura is almost part of Vrindavan, or part of the Mathura Mandal. Vrindavan is within that, but it is slightly removed. So it's a fine thing.
And then in Dwarka,
But and Madhura Rasa is there, but not in the same way as in Vrindavan. It is different. There's more formality there.
in Madura,
In Mathura.
in Mathura.
Yeah, Madhura in Mathura. And also in Dwarka there's Madhura Rasa. But it is more formal.
More formal.
Yeah. Because there's awareness of the Lord as being the Lord. In Vrindavan, nobody wants to think of the Lord as the Lord. That's completely not the mood at all.
Then why is Ayodhya
Ayodhya.
in a lower?
It's the relationship. It's all to do with the nature of the relationship between the Lord and the devotees.
Yes. So the question is why that one is in the lower than Dwarka, that if it's like friendship, and in Dwarka is more formal.
No, Ayodhya is formal.
Oh, it's formal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra is the king, banished king. Oh, very sweet though. All these things are sweet. They're all in the positives. line. But Ramachandra came to show what is the ideal king, the nobility of heart, the sacrifice, the self-giving, the adherence to religion. He's showing this. This is his nature. And very compelling, very attractive. But it is far, it's not the same as, there are deeper moods. Anyway, that's a big subject. But we will read all those things in.
Thank you, Didi.
Yeah.
That might not be important, like for bhakti, but I just got curious.
No, it's not you should know these things. Sanatana Goswami has given us these. The gradations of devotion are very important to understand. But we're worshiping all of that. But our highest ideal is what Mahaprabhu has come to give. And that is far, far beyond that. It's actually unknowable, what to speak of unattainable, except for the influence of Mahaprabhu in this age, in this particular Kali Yuga, and the influence of his pure devotee. This is not attainable. It's not even knowable. It's not knowable. It is so hidden.
Crazy.
And you can understand it. So in this way, adopting the mentality of a soul for the welfare of all souls, Sri Gaurasundar, as Jagat Guru, personally taught how a practitioner should, with great enthusiasm, while loudly chanting Krishna's name, and the mind is just playing a big brass band. I can tell you my personal experience. Clean the heart for Krishna's sake. Why do we want a clean heart?
For Krishna's sake.
Very good. First of all, we may be tinged with I want liberation. I'm out of here. I want out of here. But we must remember that it is all for Krishna. It is for him. My practice is for him. Devotion for any other purpose is not really devotion. So this is, it seems so obvious, but Okay, for Krishna's sake, in order to make their heart a place for the pleasure pastimes of the autocrat Sri Krishna, and be able to lovingly gratify Krishna's senses. And if we compare Krishna's senses to the senses of this gross body, then we are very far off course. Krishna's happiness is the happiness of everyone. And he's not depending upon us for his happiness. But we must take part in that. Everything exists for him. And we want to be part of that. Not, it all exists for me. Okay, yadya pyanya bhakti kalau kartavya tada kirtanakya bhakti sanyogenaiva. From the Srimad Bhagavatam. Although the other 8 practices of devotion should be performed during the Kali Yuga, they should be performed in conjunction with kirtan. Srimad Mahaprabhu came over to every devotee, took hold of their hands, and taught them how to clean the temple. And he's teaching us, by his own example, how to clean our heart. So many beautiful things in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He praised the devotees who were serving well, and as the Lord adorned with the heart of she who is the personification of the fulfillment of Krishna's desires, Sri Radha, he benevolently chastised those whose service was not up to his standard, took hold of their hands and taught them the proper way to serve Krishna. He praised those who were doing well, and he benevolently chastised and taught everyone who was not properly serving. Not only that, he also instructed and inspired the pure-hearted devotees who were dedicated to the Absolute and proficient in serving, according to his teaching, to perform the work of an acharya for souls averse to the Lord. He not only taught, but he instructed others who were perfect to also come and teach. Tumi bala kariyacha shikaha anyere, emata bala karma sevoke yena kare. To devotees whose cleaning he approved of, the Lord said, "You have done well. Teach this to the others, so that they can also perform well in this way." During the Gundicha temple cleansing, the Lord would say to those who were full-heartedly, full consciously, full devotedly cleaning, he would say, "You have done well. Now teach the others." He didn't say, "Okay, well, they're no good. Just let them stay in ignorance," but all to help. Furthermore, the Lord taught that one will become dear to the Lord to the extent that one can remove impurities from one's heart and keep it clean. And he prescribed the peaceful practice of service to Hari Guru Vaishnava for those who have not yet completed the process of anartha nivritti, the purging of evils from the heart. So, this is very beautiful. I want to read that last sentence again. Furthermore, the Lord taught that one will become dear to the Lord to the extent that one can remove impurities from the heart and keep it clean. And he prescribed the peaceful practice of service to Hari Guru Vaishnava for those who have not yet completed the process of anartha nivritti. So those who have cleansed, fully cleansed, there cannot be anything left in the heart. Then they're living in this joyful plane of happiness, of pleasing the Lord, of his happiness. They are living in that. And gave this beautiful, peaceful process of service to Guru Vaishnava and Hari to those who have not yet completed this cleansing. So this very beautiful article from the GaudiyaDarshan.com, Sri Gundicha Marjan Lila Rahasya. Any questions about this? So I wanted to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we will read the introduction to this chapter 12. It's the very first chapter of this volume. This is the Madhya Lila, the third volume. And I'll read I think there's only time now. But during the day, we can be hearing many things, many things about this pastime while we're trying to take part. But we must remember that the temple symbolizes pure devotion. It's not just a building that needs cleaning. We always have to remember what is the significance of what we are doing. It is representing pure devotional service in the line of Mahaprabhu and Saraswati Thakur, coming down Sri Rupa Saraswati, coming in this line of pure surrender. And that we should remember this while we are cleaning, that I am trying to practice what is internally pleasing to you. It is not an external thing. None of it is external. It is all facilitating internal progress. All of it. Otherwise, we were going to get caught up in this and that. And these things are important because we are trying to also extend a hand to those who may come and hear about this. But that is the essence. Srila Guru Maharaj said, Sankirtan. Kirtan means preaching. It means extending this divine siddhanta so that this practice of anartha nivritti, of the cleansing of the heart in the mood of surrender, will be extended to others. And that is the heartbeat. That is the pulse of the temple. That is the necessity for the temple. Otherwise, what is it? So we have to always be hearing about the essence of what we're doing. And this article is very, very important for that. We also want to clean everything, but we should remember this internal cleansing while we are cleansing the temple. Because the temple is for that internal cleansing. That's why it exists. It has a pulse, it's alive. And Guru Maharaj was saying, I heard this morning, anything, Krishna is a living thing. Everything that we know about Krishna can be changed at any moment. Surrender is the only relationship with Krishna. Krishna is not stuck in our concept. He's living, he's infinite. We must come to the plane of surrender. Then we can follow the movements of Krishna and not like fully understand them, of course, that's impossible. But come into the dance of divine will. This is why the temple exists. And in part of that surrender will come to the anartha nivritti stage. Because Krishna, through surrender, we immediately Krishna is showing us what is wrong with me. We can see it. Otherwise, how am I going to see it? How is a madman going to cure himself? How? By the very nature of madness, that's not possible. We must surrender even for our anartha nivritti stage. What to speak of all the stages beyond that. But that has to be thorough. It has to be 100%. Krishna's not going to sit with any garbage in my heart. That garbage represents aversion to him. That all must be gone. So all of these things have to be understood very soberly. What is it that we are doing? What is the purpose? Okay, so this is the introduction to this from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose disappearance day we tried to observe yesterday with a heart of, again, surrender to his holy lotus feet and what he came to give, so many beautiful things. In his Amrita Prabhaha Bhasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes this chapter as follows. The king of Orissa, Maharaj Prataparudra, tried his best to see Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees informed the Lord about the king's desire, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not agree to see him. Do you know why? As with so many of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he is showing the ideal to give warning to the conditioned soul that a sannyasi must not hang out with wealthy people in order to get something out of them. So Mahaprabhu was super, super strict about this. He would not see the king, but he knew the king was a pure devotee. Prataparudra was a pure devotee of Mahaprabhu. So he suffered much separation from the Lord. At that time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu devised a plan, and he sent a piece of the Lord's outward garment to the king. The next day, when Ramananda Rai again entreated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the king, the Lord, denying his request, asked Ramananda Rai to bring the king's son before him. The prince visited the Lord dressed like a Vaishnava, and this awakened remembrance of Krishna for the Lord. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the son of King Prataparudra. Very beautiful pastime. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the Gundicha temple before the Rath Yatra took place. He then took his bath at Indrajumna lake and partook of prasadam in the garden nearby. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the temple of Gundicha, a Gaudiya Vaishnava washed the lotus feet of the Lord and drank the water. This incident is very significant, for it awoke within the devotee ecstatic love, even though outwardly Mahaprabhu completely, get him out of here. Swarup Damodar threw him out of the temple in order to warn a sannyasi not to act like that, not to think, oh, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did this, and so I'm expecting my disciples to be drinking my... So outwardly, but inwardly, the Lord was very pleased, and that devotee felt that joy. But outwardly, he showed, get him out, and he was thrown out of the temple. These things are very significant for us. Then the son of Advaita Prabhu named Gopal fainted during the kirtan, and when he did not come to his senses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu favored him by awakening him. There was also some humorous talk between Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu during prasadam. Advaita Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they're Vishnu Tattva, and they're taking prasadam and really funny activities, like oh. Advaita Prabhu said that Nityananda Prabhu was unknown to anyone, and that it was not the duty of a household Brahmin to accept dinner with a person unknown in society, meaning he's not a Brahmin, he's not a Kshatriya, he's not a Vaishya. Well, I don't know what you are. It's not the duty of a Brahmin. I'm a Brahmin. I just sit with a person, but he's actually praising him. You are so far beyond these things, but it's like a joke and really very funny. So unknown. It's not the duty of a household of Brahmin to accept dinner with a person unknown in society. In answer to this humorous statement, Sri Nityananda Prabhu replied that Advaita Prabhu was a monist. He's like a Mayavadi. And that one could not know how his mind could be turned by eating with such an impersonalist. So Nityananda's like, I'm afraid to eat with you. You're an impersonalist. The conversation between the two Prabhus, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, carried a deep meaning that only an intelligent man can understand. After all the Vaishnavas finished their luncheon, Swarup Damodar and others took their prasadam within the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took great pleasure when he saw the Jagannath deity after the period of the deity's retirement. At that time, Lord Chaitanya was accompanied by all the devotees, and all of them were very pleased. So this is the 12th chapter of Madhya Lila in the 3rd volume, the first chapter of the 3rd volume. And during the day, we can be reading this out loud or hearing some lectures that must be posted online. And again, remembering what is the temple, what is the devotional practice, what is the necessity of cleanliness in our heart, external and internal cleanliness, very important. But the internal cleanliness is the necessity. And it is the purpose of our bhajan, of our puja, of our everything. Everything which is not devotion. And that is accomplished through surrender. The 6 limbs of what? Surrender. They're the limbs of something. They're not independent. They are necessities for surrender. So we are trying to always remember these beautiful things. And Jai, we will worship this day in remembrance of Mahaprabhu and the great devotees who cleansed the Gundicha temple for the appearance. And of course, all these pastimes are eternal. And now we are trying to take part internally and externally. Jai Sri Gundicha Marjana Maha Mahotsava Ki Jai Sri Jagannatha Swami. Ooh, tomorrow is Jagannath Rath Yatra. Such a wonderful day. Jai Sri Jagannath Ju Ki Jai Sri Baladev and Lady Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, all the devotees of the Lord. Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol. All right. Jai Shri Guru Gaurav Chandra Ji. Jai Shri Giri Arju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Saparikashi Shri Guru Gaurachandra Ju Ki Jai. May we really try to serve the Lord. And may He reveal His divine form as our vision clears. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Sannyasi Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Sagoswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. And the witty conversations between these two lords, Advaita Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Oh, so funny. He's the origin of everything, even humor. Oh, Lord. Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Hare Sakamat Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission Ki Jai. Shri Gundicha Temple Ki Jai. Gundicha Marjana Mahamahotsav Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Haribol Kol Kartal Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol.
Jai Srimati Shri Lekha Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Today, Bimal Krishna Prabhu is present with us.
Dandavat Prabhu.
So weird, right?
Huh?
Long time no see Bimal Krishna Prabhu.
I know.
He
where have
barely,
you been?
he barely joined. Divya Shakti Didi,
Oh, right, no, great. Dandavat.
Ganga Lila Didi, Kumkum Didi. And there's someone on YouTube that is tuning in.
Maybe Christian.
His name is Kalki Q.
What?
Kalki.
Kalki?
Kalki, yeah.
Oh,
It's
really?
not Maya, it's not Durga. It's not
Kalki?
Christian, it's Kalki.
Kalki is one of the incarnations of the Lord, and he comes at the end of the Kali Yuga. Just kill everybody.
He
Give
kills
them all
everybody.
liberation.
And Kalki is giving us his association, his or her association. Saying hi, Haribol, and writing the Maha
Welcome,
mantra.
welcome. Thank you for giving us your association. Haribol, Haribol.
Come to Salt Lake City, Utah.
What was that?
I said, come to Salt Lake City, Utah Temple.